Alright, so let's talk about the copymaster and chameleon of Blue Lock Reo. Now in the latest chapters, Rio's emotions have really been a total roller coaster, which is totally understandable. He first went insane in the FC Barca match where he managed to score a goal with Chris Prince. After that, Nagi got eliminated from Blue Lock and had to leave Reo, making him have to endure the whole parade without Nagi. And now, in one of the latest chapters, where we see him still missing Nagi, he has accepted that it's how it is, and he's gotten extremely fired up by his new task, which Ego assigned to him. And because of that, I thought that today, I would talk about just how much of a monster Reo can become, and how his potential is pretty much limitless. Alright, so what was the task that our kind bullhead assigned to Reo? Well, it was for him to look over matches of all the other 22 players and then copy their abilities, all in the span of 14 days. This task got Reo completely fired up, as he knew that Ego had a reason for this. Not to mention that Ego stated that Rio's chance of becoming the #1 striker still existed, which is also something I want to cover more later in the video. But before that, I want to explain how insane this task is. So in Rio's letter, Ego left SD cards for all of the remaining 22 players for Reo to look over and try to copy. Firstly, analyzing and copying 22 players in the span of 14 days is an outrageous task. As for example, Nanasi's task was to eat with chopsticks. Even though this task was pretty much impossible, Reo was determined to do it, and not only do it but ace it, as when he heard that task, he got completely fired up and couldn't wait to start. Why this task is so insanely outrageous is because Reo will watch the remaining players and then copy their moves. It might be their abilities to sneak behind players like Otoya did against Chris Prince, or Corona's insane spacing technique, or maybe even Isagi's 2-gun volley. All of this means that Reo will not only possess his own abilities, but also the abilities of the other 22 players, making him a player with limitless potential and strategies. I feel like the U20 World Cup arc will be an arc where Reo will show his true brilliance, as firstly, he has Ego believing in him, and not to mention that he can focus solely on himself. Like, if he can act like he did in the last part of the FC Barca match for an entire match, then he'll be unstoppable. Now obviously he can't copy everything, for example Chigiri's or Zantetsu's speed, which is something that is able for them to do because of their training and their bodies. Now Reo can train and become a bit faster. However, speed is something that is pretty predetermined already. Now, while on the topic of speed, I've got a little bit of a challenge for you guys. Let's see how quickly you guys can go down and both like the video and subscribe to the channel. Oh wait, you are already done. Well, thank you so much, and now let's get back to the video. Also, Kunigami's physique isn't something Reo can just look at and then copy, as he would need to train a bunch. And even then, there's no certainty that he would achieve the same build as Kunigami, as once again physique comes down a bit to genetics. However, one thing that Reo has going for him is his insane all-rounder playstyle. He isn't like Chigiri or Kunigami, who were previously mentioned. He isn't like them, who are more talented in, for example, speed or physicality. As Reo is an all-rounder, which means that his physicality, speed, tactics, power, and technique are all extremely good, he doesn't have one in which he particularly thrives, as he is well-rounded in all of them. That makes him into the perfect copycat, as being such an all-around player means that you are able to do more things, as there isn't much in which Reo falls short. I'm also very intrigued as to why Ego specifically told Reo that there was still a path to #1 for him. Obviously, Ego means it, and he fully believes that it's possible for Reo, as Ego isn't someone who would just say that out of the blue without really meaning it. But still, I felt like it was a bit odd. Don't get me wrong, it was sweet, but still a bit odd. Now I might just be overanalyzing this, but I think that Ego knew that Reo would be extremely sad about Nagi's elimination, which is why he needed to make sure that Rio's determination would stay at the top, and for him not to be in his own mind as much. That's why he specifically told Reo that the path to becoming the #1 was still there, as Ego knew that it would get Reo fired up and locked in, which totally worked, as just with a little push from Ego, Reo was totally fired up again, as he was determined to ace this task, as he fully believed in Ego, and that there's always something more to what he says. I also can't wait until Reo comes back to Blue Lock, and everyone discusses what their assignments were, and Reo just tells them that he's been sitting and analyzing them the whole time, and that he knows all of their moves now. Now I won't say that Nagi has been dragging him back while they have been playing together. However, at the same time, he kind of has. Reo has always had to think about how his plays will affect Nagi. The only time he has been free was, for example, in the 3rd selection, when he tried to kind of abandon Nagi, as after looking at Nagi, he realized that he had changed, and felt that he also needed to make a change, which is when he first unlocked and showcased his chameleon style and also scored a goal. But even after he scored, he still went back to Nagi and asked if it was enough for them to play together. He did that because he had the opportunity to play with Nagi. But this time it's different. And even if Reo wanted to play with Nagi, it's simply impossible as Nagi is eliminated. This forces Reo to adapt fully to himself, and I'm sure that he will unlock a new sort of ego in the upcoming arc and act like a more selfish player. He won't be someone like Baru and Shidu, who are mostly focused on only themselves, as he will still be a logical player who becomes a tiny bit more selfish, kind of like a copy of Isagi is how I see Reo becoming. However, he won't be fully like Isagi, as Reo will have a whole arsenal of plays in his locker. Like, he'll be the best all-rounder ever. Let's say that someone is coming to attack the goal. Well, Rio's got it, as he can just pull out Aiku's snake move like he did before. Or maybe they need a fast and precise pass up on the field. Well, he can just transform to Sei and pinpoint the best pass course ever. Or if he's in the enemy box attacking, then he can just pull out Isagi's 2-gun volleys and make a goal. Like, I don't see what will be able to stop Reo if he's able to copy the remaining players. I do suspect that copying players must drain more stamina for him, which I could just assume would be his only drawback, and that he won't be able to just copy the entire match. But that's also pure speculation, as we haven't really seen that yet, as so far we have just seen him being able to copy everything without any trouble. One thing that has been mentioned before that is one of his drawbacks, is that he isn't able to copy the others' abilities to 100% of their efficiency. I don't know if it's still a trouble for him, or if he now is able to do that after training with Munchen City, but if you know if it's still a drawback for him, or if he's overcome it, then please leave it down in the comments. Anyway, if it's still a problem for him, then it's obviously his fatal flaw, but still, I don't think that it's such a huge drawback. Fine, he might not be able to perfect the other's ability. However, I do think that going into the U20 match, it won't be that much of a problem, as the other teams won't know his moves either way, so even if he can do it to perfection or not, it would be fine. It would be a different story if he was going up against Isagi, for example, and was going to use his 2-stage volley. Now in that case, Isagi would be aware of the fact that Reo can't utilize his move to its fullest potential, and because of that, he could think of a flaw in it and stop it. But for the U20 World Cup, I do think that he will be fine, and that he will be an absolute monster. Like in theory, I do really think that Reo has the potential to be the #1 player, as I just don't see what could stop him. Obviously it won't be him, as that would be a very weird way to go with the story if randomly Reo becomes the best. However, I still really think that theoretically he could. That could be said for more characters though, like Baru for example, who I also believe has the potential. Meanwhile, it would be harder for someone like Reichi or Nanase. Now I feel like I've pretty much gotten through with my point in this video, and my point was simply to explain how Reo is an insane beast with unlimited potential. Now the only way I can see him losing his grip and ending up like a washed player would be if, for example, Nagi comes back and Reo for some reason goes back to him. However, I don't think that Nagi will come back to the U20 World Cup, so for this arc we should be safe. The next thing would be if Reo once again, for some reason, starts to relying on someone else like he did with Nagi. Like I don't know if Isagi becomes his new Nagi or something like that, but I don't see that happening, so I just don't see a way which Reo could lose in, as everything has been built up for him. I genuinely think that Reo will play a massive role in this arc, and I'm gonna go out and say that I even think that he will be one of the top 5 most important characters in the U20 World arc, and I genuinely can't wait for that, because Reo is someone who deserves this more than anyone. He's gone through so much and honestly so many betrayals, so he needs this arc to honestly feel alive again, and to become the unlimited beast that he truly can become. Anyway, now I feel like I'm just rambling, so I guess that it's a good place to end it. But please let me know what you think about all of this, and what you think will happen to Reo in the upcoming arc. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video, which will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.